Good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our show tonight. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to start off our show with a salute to the United States of America, the United States Army National Army. Where did I botch that? The United States Army Barbershop Quartet is going to be giving us the national anthem, and prior to that, the Barbershop Convention host will be giving us the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, I'm going to ask you all now to please stand. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
Let them know it. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. Like I said, the host of the convention gave us the Pledge of Allegiance as well. We want to pay our respects to our United States military, as we do most every night. We thank them for their service, and also our allied military forces, wherever all of our militaries are. God bless you. May you all return home to your families after your tours of duty end. We appreciate you and love you very much. Thank you again for your service. We appreciate it, guys. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. The first thing I'm going to talk about is just a little bit unpleasant news. Okay? Shishaldin volcano in Alaska has been erupting for about 2 weeks now. Okay? But the alert level warning has been redacted or reduced. The red alert level warning has been reduced to code red. 1 level down. Previous aviation code level was orange. Okay? It's been at the alert level for quite some time now. An ash cloud from Shishaldin volcano reached up to 30,000 feet high, 9 kilometers above sea level. It was observed in satellite data at 9 a.m. this morning. This follows a several-hour increase in observed eruptive activity. 7-hour increase in observed eruptive activity. In response, the aviation color code has been raised to red and the alert level is being raised to warning. Okay? Been raised to warning. Okay? But guess what? The current level is warning. The current aviation color is red. Okay? Warning. Why? Why is it a warning? Because it is still erupting. 30,000 feet, 9 kilometers high. That's nearly to the stratosphere. Folks, that's big. That's big. The National Weather Service has issued what they call a SIGMET for this ash cloud. In other words, a stay-away order for aircraft, any kind of aircraft. Because the ash and the dirt and small pebbles that might still be in the atmosphere could cause any kind of plane to stall out and then plunge into the ocean. They absolutely don't need to have that. This volcano was down in the lower south part of the Alaska Peninsula. Aircraft have been warned to stay away. Okay? This statement has been issued for a possible trace of ash on marine waters downwind of Shishaldin volcano. Based on previous eruption cycles, significant ash emissions are likely to continue for many hours. Pyroclastic and mud flows are likely on the flanks, which are the sides of the volcano, on the immediate flanks of the volcano. Shishaldin volcano is monitored by local seismic and infrasound sensors, web cameras, and a telemetered geodetic network. In addition to the local monitoring network, the Alaska Volcano Observatory uses nearby geophysical networks, regional infrasound, and lightning data, as well as satellite images to detect eruptive activity. Now, we've talked about this before. Why am I talking about it now? Because this volcano has been erupted for 2 weeks. And as Terry Rempel told us in chat last night, Edgecombe volcano and Wardell volcano over in the southeastern side of Alaska have been getting hit with earthquakes. Why? Because the magma underneath those edifices, underneath those mountains, has increased. The magma is coming in under pressure, and when it comes in under pressure, what happens? That pressured magma fractures rocks in the volcano. And that rock fracturing is causing volcanic uplift to occur as well. So the volcano is rising millimeters at a time. Over a year's time period, the volcano could rise up over 14 inches high. Now that may not sound like a lot, but can you imagine that huge volcano, or any of the volcanoes? This happens at all of them. Can you imagine what happens when that volcano rises? The volcano becomes even more brittle because the inside of the volcano has been heated up, and that heating is extending out to the flanks of the volcano. And pretty soon, what happens? We get an eruption. Edgecombe volcano has not erupted for a very long time. Either has Wardell, but it's going to. That's what it looks like. Both Wardell and Edgecombe volcano in southeastern Alaska need to be watched, and that's what we're doing. Aveyah, the Alaska Volcanic Observatory, is also watching this very, very closely. and we're going to be giving you updates as we go on here. That's what's going on. We have other volcanoes literally around the world that are erupting, and we're going to give you updates on every one of those this coming week. Now, I have other things I need to talk about. Cheechalden volcano is in the southwestern part of Alaska, in the peninsula area. And there's a very good chance that we may still get huge eruptive episodes. Nobody lives there, fortunately. But the area around it, going south and north, there are people that live south and north of there. And like we said, the Weather Service has issued a watch for ash in the air and telling airlines to stay out of it. Anybody in the area north and east of that volcano should also exercise care to make sure they put something over their face so they're not breathing in that ash. It could be very, very harmful. Now, there's not as much ash further north and east as there is at the immediate epicenter of that volcano. But as it goes north, that ash is possible, and it's going to fall out of the sky literally. Okay? We want to make sure everybody knows about it. Now, on a completely separate note, I got a message today from a publication called The Hill. The Hill monitors political activity. And the notification today is, and this comes from an article that was written way back in November 9th, 2022, when President Biden said at that time that he was going to make sure that President Trump does not get back into the White House. That was his statement. Let me play it for you here. I do have it. No, I don't. I have another statement from Alan Dershowitz to talk about it. But President Biden on Wednesday, November 9th, suggested that if former president opts to run, which he has, in 2024, he would not make it to the White House for a second term. That's what Biden has threatened. Ergo, what has happened all this year? Biden's Department of Justice has gone after President Trump, throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, at the former president. Okay? What is this going to do? The chief rival of the former president, who is running for office, has threatened President Trump's lifestyle, has threatened his campaign. President Biden will do everything he can to make sure President Trump does not run and does not occupy the White House again. This is a candidate, a political candidate threatening President Trump. Biden's statement is this, and I've got it here: we just have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run. Unquote. Coming back to that quote, I'm sorry, let me read the whole thing to you. We have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run, making sure, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, he does not become president again. Unquote. Those are his words. Now, I want to play a little clip from Alan Dershowitz. This is what Alan Dershowitz said.
Indictment. Under the terms of this indictment, Jack Smith can be indicted. Let me explain to you why. The statute says the following: if two or more persons conspire to injure and deny somebody the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured him by the Constitution. What if a court ultimately rules that Donald Trump had a right under the First Amendment to make his January 6th speech and to do what he did then Jack Smith will have conspired to deny him of that right. That's how serious this is. And Jack Smith also, in his indictment, deliberately, willfully, and maliciously leaves out the words that President Trump spoke on January 6th in his terrible speech, which I disagree with. But what he said was, I want you to assemble peacefully and patriotically. Jack Kemp leaves that out. That is a lie. A lie, an omission lie. And if you're going to indict somebody for telling lies, don't tell lies in the indictment.
Okay? Listen to that. And he accidentally said Jack Kemp. He meant Jack Smith from the Department of Justice that is prosecuting President Trump. Okay? This is the fourth indictment that he's gotten for President Trump. Yet he himself lied in the indictment. Okay? Again, Biden said that he will do everything within his power to make sure President Trump does not run again. Let me back that up. I want you to hear this.
Amendment to make his January 6th speech and to do what he did, then Jack Smith will have conspired to deny him of that right. That's how serious this is. And Jack Smith also, in his indictment, deliberately, willfully, and maliciously leaves out the words that President Trump spoke on January 6th in his terrible speech, which I disagree with. But what he said was, I want you to assemble peacefully and patriotically. Jack Kemp leaves that out. That
Jack Kemp, that's not Jack Kemp, that's Jack Smith. Again, the DOJ prosecutor.
Is a lie. A lie, an omission lie. And if you're going to indict somebody for telling lies, don't tell lies in the indictment. If you're going to indict somebody for denying people their constitutional rights, don't deny them their constitutional rights by indicting them for free speech.
Okay? That's what he's doing. That's what the DOJ, that's what Mr. Biden wants done at all costs. And Jack Smith is doing exactly that. He's following his boss's orders. And yes, his real boss, his first boss, is Mr. Garrett Garland, the Attorney General, the DOJ. But the top boss, Mr. Biden, is responsible. Okay? I read you the quote from the president himself, that he will do everything he can under the Constitution. Well, guess what? He just lied. They continue to lie and lie and lie. Let me play you the statement from his attorney yesterday after the fact of Mr. Trump being taken down to an indictment in Washington.
April 17th, Hunter accidentally admits that it was his laptop from hell. The next day, DA Alvin Bragg indicts President Trump. June 8th, an FBI document is released showing that the Ukrainians paid the Biden crime family millions and millions of dollars. The next day, the Mar-a-Lago raid and the Mar-a-Lago indictment. Last week, Hunter Biden's sweetheart plea deal fell through when the judge realized it had blanket immunity. The following day, a superseding indictment against Donald Trump. July 31st, Devin Archer goes to testify in front of the House. That was only after they failed to put him in jail prior to the fact. What happens the next day? The January 6th indictment that we're here for today. This is not a coincidence. This is election interference at its finest against the leading candidate right now for president, for either party. President Trump is under siege in a way that we have never seen before. President Trump and his legal team and everyone on his team will continue to fight, not for him, but for the American people. I'll take some questions.
Well, thank you. I know the president has called this a witch hunt. You just laid out several examples of that. Any other thoughts that the president has communicated to you in terms of why this is going on and then why he calls it a witch hunt?
I think a witch hunt is really the way that anybody should describe this, because it's not something we've seen in our time. This is not even political. This is beyond that. A witch hunt is when you relentlessly attack your opponent, when you relentlessly attack the thing that you are most afraid of. People are afraid of somebody that cannot be bought by Washington. People are afraid of somebody who is independently wealthy and who has given up his good life to fight for this country. And that frightens a lot of politicians who are career politicians, unfortunately, because he'll get back there, and I know he'll be fighting for every one of us so that this doesn't happen to us.
This case is about free speech, but the special counsel says Trump could have disagreed with the results and talked about it. No crime there. The difference is what he did to try and switch the votes.
So what is it that he did to try and switch the votes that you refer to? By bringing cases, by using the law in an appropriate manner, unlike what we're sitting here today seeing. This is not appropriate. What President Trump did is he said, go patriotically and peacefully and protest. That is an American right. That is why we are America and we are not a third world country. Although I will say that today, I don't feel very much like we are in America. Yes?
This case should go forward before or after the 2024 presidential election?
I think that every court needs to look at this as a whole, right? It's not about the January 6th case. It's about the fact that in the matter of a couple months, we have seen them try and tie up, and me as an attorney, have never seen this, tie up one individual who's running a campaign, running for office for president, so that he is in court, in depositions, and distracted, so that he won't properly run for 2024. And frankly, it's not going to work.
Is the legal team going to argue that the election was stolen?
I don't think that that's the argument that needs to be made. I think that anybody that believes that is misreading this. The truth is, as an American, there were questions that he had regarding the election integrity. We've seen documents come out, we've seen documentaries come out showing that there were issues with the election. And frankly, by bringing this, I don't think Jack Smith really thought it through. There only has to be proof that, number one, President Trump believed that this election was not completely honest. And number two, Jack Smith has opened himself up to a can of worms that we can now look at and really examine.
If you believe that he's innocent and that this is all a setup, why not bring it to trial as soon as possible before the election so that you can clear his name?
Yeah, I would love to do that, but there's something called discovery. And when somebody wants to say that the 2020 election was perfect and that President Trump has no right to object to it, we've got to go show them all the facts. And there's a lot of facts to show. So everybody has their time. And to say that Donald Trump should then be rushed and not be given the same fair proceeding that anybody else is just, frankly, un-American. It's not fair. It's not the way our system works.
A lot of the lawyers who helped him try to overturn the election are unnamed co-conspirators in the indictment. Jenna Ellis isn't. Why do you think that is?
I'm not going to speak to co-conspirators or anybody else. I represent President Trump.
Go one more.
There are a number of, there's testimony and there's a number of aides that have said that the president was made aware that he lost the election and yet continued to argue that it was stolen from him. How do you reconcile those two things?
Well, I think that everybody was made aware that he lost the election, but that doesn't mean that that was the only advice he was given. As anybody understands what happens in the Oval Office, there are a numerous amount of advisors and politicians and lawyers, not just one or two, that are giving you advice and telling you what they believe is true. So he may not agree with Mike Pence. He may not agree with one of his lawyers, but that doesn't mean that there weren't other people advising him exactly the opposite. And the president has a right, as every one of us do, to listen to several opinions and make their decision.
I remember hearing Hillary Clinton and Stacey Abrams argue that their elections were not right.
Absolutely.
I mean, and the weaponization of the DOJ didn't happen then.
No, of course not. But if your last name's Trump, it's very different. So Hillary Clinton could have a problem when she lost the election, and we could have a complete liberal meltdown, as we all saw. But when we have dignified disagreements, we take them to court. We say do things patriotically and peacefully. He's to blame for things that he did not himself do. And that's what we're seeing. Frankly, folks, this is not about that. This is about politics. This is about 2024. Period. The end.
Okay, that's all she said. The interview went off like clockwork. The attorney made her voice known exactly what was going on, and it continued. Okay? She did her job. for the former president. But there's a lot more to it. As someone just said here in the chat, and I'm going to back up the chat and read it to you verbatim. Okay? Every time, it seems like every time that the Biden crime family, and I'm going to say Hunter Biden and Mr. Joe Biden, anytime they get into trouble, President Trump has gotten charged with something. It's always one thing after another. Hunter Biden had his case exonerated, basically. He was given a sweetheart plea deal, and then he continues on his merry way to commit more crime. Congress brought in the whistleblower and gave Congress evidence that Mr. Biden knew what his son Hunter was doing on 20 different occasions at least. Mr. Biden says, "Oh, I had no knowledge of it. I was not associated with Hunter's business partners or anything to do with his business." The president lied. The president can be held in contempt. Yesterday, there were articles of impeachment that were approved by the House of Representatives. So, guys, guess what? There has to be another trial in the Senate. And then the Senate can turn it down and say, no, we do not want to impeach him. But the United States House of Representatives has ordered that Mr. Biden get impeached. The articles of impeachment were approved. And then, and I should have saved that clip I had of that, it was a 5-minute clip that showed the House of Representatives last night approving the articles of impeachment. It was 230 to 219 along party lines. Then the fiasco began. Democrats broke out shouting, "Shame, shame, shame," over and over and over. The Speaker of the House, Congressman McCarthy, had to say several times, "Order in the House. House, come to order." He slammed his gavel 6 or 7 times on the podium to get some kind of peacefulness and reverence and sanctity in the House of Representatives. The Democrats continued. Then one more thing came up. If you remember good old Congressman Schiff, U.S. Representative Mr. Schiff. Mr. Schiff cannot even tell the truth if he were given it on a silver platter. He lied to Congress. He brought false documents to Congress the year before to try to go after President Trump. He brought false documents. He made false accusations. This is a sitting congressman from Northern California. Sitting congressman lies to the Congress. They censor him. Yesterday, Congressman Schiff was censored, and they gave him quite a few rounds of slapping his face. There's a lot of things he cannot do, and he may be thrown out of Congress because of his lies and his deceitfulness. It's happening, guys. Yes, it is a double standard. Every time Hunter Biden has been slapped on the hands, the next day President Trump is brought up on another indictment. Joe Biden is going to do whatever he can to try to stop President Trump. He threatened that last year. Okay? He threatened it. It's sad. Now, Darla, you will get earthquakes in just a couple minutes here. Okay? I wanted to bring this up. Why? Because this is an emergency. Our country, our Constitution of the United States is hanging by a thread. All of our lives are going to be affected by what happens. President Biden has run our Constitution into the dirt. He sold weapons to China. He sold weapons to the USSR, Russia. He has sold our precious fuel and oil to China. He's taken our federal oil and gas reserves that were meant for the United States military in case something happened here on our shores, and he sold it to China. Now, we don't have many days left of our oil and gas reserves anymore because Biden sold it. Folks, this affects all of us. You wonder why prices keep going up? You wonder why gas prices skyrocketed in North Carolina by up to 50 cents a gallon now? In the past 2 weeks, skyrocketed up to 50 cents a gallon over what it was 2 weeks ago. Food prices, gasoline prices, diesel, layoffs and outright closing of stores and other facilities because this economy has turned south. Yes, this is an emergency. This Emergency Management Associates is exactly what we're doing. We're giving you disaster emergency information. It's up to you what you want to do with it. Today is Preparedness Friday. Yes, I'm going to talk about earthquakes as well. But you need to have this information to make decisions for yourself. As we have been talking over the past 4 years, and I will say it again and again and again until everyone gets it right, you need to start emergency preparedness plans and gathering food and water and other things that you need for emergencies. If you don't start, guess what? You're not going to be able to cope with what's going to happen. And it is already started happening. If you don't think this is an emergency, you need to start looking around yourself, your neighborhood, your town, your city, at the prices that are going up. Rent prices for me just went up another $35 again. And I'm saying again. I just paid for my cable bill and my internet. It went up to $235. $235 from $135. 2 years I've been paying $135, and now cable and internet is $235. $100. And yes, I see some people giving us super chats, and that's great. 2 weeks now, I've gone to the post office and I've not got one letter or card or any kind of monetary support in the post office. Folks, it costs me $60 every 6 months to keep the post office box. For about 3 years, I was going to the post office twice a week, and I got support, I got cards and letters from all of you, and that was wonderful. But for the past 2 weeks, I've not gotten one card and not one letter at the post office. If this continues to happen, I'm going to close down the post office box. Then we can find some other way, and I'll give you another address where you can send our post office mail and boxes. this is where we're at. Okay? Don Patoka says, when did our zip code change to Venezuela? It changed to Venezuela about 2 years ago, maybe 3. Taxes have gone up on everything. My personal taxes went up. Our gas taxes went up. Food and groceries, the taxes have gone up. Taxes have gone up on my insurance, believe it or not. I have to pay taxes on my insurance that I have. And guess what? I was told about a week ago that our Social Security was going to increase. It has not. It's actually gone down by about $10. Guess what? It's hitting all of us very hard. Aubrey says it's getting hard on all of us, Ron. Yes, it is. I just want to make sure that you know what's going on. And 2 other people that are near and dear to me have had issues. One of the women is NCWQ Explorer, here in our chat right now. She's also on Social Security and gets a lot less than I do. She has her children and a grandson there that she's trying to support and get them around. Her car died on her. She can't afford to do anything with it. She's stranded. She has bills to pay as everyone else does. Okay? It's hard for everybody. I'm not the only one. You're not the only one. Why am I telling you about emergencies? Because, folks, every one of us is facing those. Every one of us are facing some kind of an emergency or another. It's bad. Some people want us to talk about nothing but earthquakes. We talk a lot about earthquakes. Every day we talk about earthquakes. Every day. There isn't one day go by that we don't talk about earthquakes. But I have a responsibility here. I have a responsibility to make sure that what we talk about is something that's going to help other people. It's not just me. Yes, I could turn tail and say, guess what? I'm done. Yes, I could turn tail and say, I'm not coming on the air anymore. You're not going to get anything more out of me. Folks, I took an oath a long, long time ago. I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so help me God. That's what I'm doing. I have continued what I'm doing to help protect all of you. It's not just earthquakes, guys. It's tornadoes. I've talked about those. By the way, we're getting more severe weather in the next few days. Not just here in North Carolina, but everywhere. And in fact, looking out my window right now, there's an awful lot of really dark and black clouds out there. We're going to be getting hit with another storm. And it's not just me, it's everybody around me as well. Okay? NCWQ Explorer is here in North Carolina. Lamb as a Light is here in North Carolina. The storm is probably over her right now. There's quite a... Renee Steffi is here in North Carolina. I'm trying to give you everybody information to help you and help others. One of the things that I want to talk about is this. Okay? There's a yard sale going on in Ohio. And I told Aveyah. Aveyah is a lady that has done a great job for me. She, one, continues to give us information to help you. She's been our website developer. She's also helped me get information on all kinds of other things. And it goes even beyond that. Aveyah has gone out of her way to make sure the memes that I'm showing you on these programs at the beginning of every program, when you go over to YouTube, all those memes came from Aveyah, out of the goodness of her heart. Yes, out of the goodness of her heart. She did not have to do it, but she has. She has. She's helped me get started here. She is a great lady, and she deserves some respect as well. So tonight, just a second. Hold on a second, I'm going to try to do this again. This week and going into next week, and probably will go even further than that. She is having a yard sale at her house to help pay her bills, because her husband's Social Security just took a dump, a huge dump. It's gone from $1,786 or something like that, all the way down to $772, I think she said last. Now they can't pay their bills. Other people are also donating items to help her. Now, folks, to help someone else in need, her this time. If there's anyone living in Ohio, the address you could go to help support her is 180 East 3rd Street in Salem, Ohio, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., July 31st through August 3rd, and it's going on now. Yes, today is August 4th, but it's ongoing now. Huge sale you must see to appreciate. This lady has supported Emergency Management Associates this entire time. Pam Miller says, Starlight, Starbright just canceled my Amazon membership to save a little something. Wrong, please hang in there. I've learned a lot from you over the years. Pam Miller just gave us a $10 super chat, and I gratefully appreciate that. God bless you for that, Pam. From the bottom of my heart, I love and appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are what keeps this channel going. And I'm deeply grateful for what you've done for me. I'm deeply grateful for everything that you do for each other. I would have never seen the success that we've seen out of this channel if it wasn't for Aveyah and what she's done. The yard sale sign on the bottom says July 31st through August 7th, and she's probably going to continue after that, because they have another, I think, $170 or $180 just to be able to pay rent where they live, or pay their house payment. So yes, they're hurting big time. And if you happen to be around Salem, Ohio, where you have friends, relatives, anyone that can live anywhere near there, have them stop by Aveyah's home, where she and Rupert are having this yard sale. And it's just not their stuff that they're selling. Many other people have dropped off goods to sell. Some goodies. Some are goodies. Others are things that people that might need, that might go to a yard sale to buy. People will continue to donate items to Aveyah to help her. Folks, this is an emergency for all of us. Whenever we can, whatever I can do, I'm doing. Deborah G says, that's awful. It is. Veterans. Rupert, her husband, is a United States Army veteran. He worked with the highest credentials you can in the armed forces and in the United States to do what he did. And I'm not privileged to give you that information. But now he's hurting. And it's just not his Social Security that got cut. He has cancer and other things going on too. He's a shell of a man that I once knew. His body is being ravaged by disease because of his work in the service of our military, in the service of our country. That's why I spent some time talking to you about what's going on in our country. It's vital we get important information out that is going to affect us. When we have a president of the United States that goes after one of his chief rivals politically, it's a crime. And yes, Jack Smith should be taken down a few rungs, and maybe he does need to serve in jail. There's probably going to be a criminal indictment after him as well. But Merrick Garland deserves it as well, the Attorney General of the United States. He needs to be taken down and prosecuted right now. Biden and his son should be impeached. The House just impeached him. The Senate won't, because the Senate is run by Democrat communists. It's up to us to call our senators and our congressmen to get Mr. Biden out of there. The President of the United States is a crook. He's conspired against the United States of America. He has committed treason against his country, selling our spare oil and gas to a communist country, also giving them full reign over land here in the United States. Yes, guys, that's what he's done. The Chinese communists have land. They bought a farm just outside of Minot Air Force Base in Minot, North Dakota. So they have better listening ears about what's going on with our military, right next to the Air Force Base. Biden's also allowing Chinese communists and Russian communists into the United States through the southern and the north border. And some of these people are coming in on boats. That's why I'm here. I am helping us, you and I, take on the politicians. Don Patoka just put up the telephone number to the DC switchboard. It's 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121. You need to call your senators and tell them to vote for an impeachment of the President of the United States as soon as possible. I'm telling you. And I might be saying this, and this program might get taken down. But I believe that this president, and I'm not saying anything about President Trump, I am saying this president has committed treason and sedition. That's a chargeable offense. Both are felonies. He and his family and all of his administration, including Kamala Harris, have committed high crimes and misdemeanors. They should all be arrested and charged with high crimes and misdemeanors, treason and sedition, and locked up, and then tried for those crimes. And then they should suffer the stringent, the highest felony charges and punishment leveled down by the courts. That is what's going on. Rob52 says I'm starting to buffer again. Yeah, because I'm over the target zone. I'm directly over the target zone here. I kid you not, guys. I'm right directly over the target zone. That's why the buffering happens every time. Mark Stolte says Brighteon is a good option for your podcast. You have trouble. Oh yes, I've talked to Mike Adams. I've talked to Mike Adams. I've talked to Dan Bongino. I have also talked to Mr. Glenn Beck. Yeah. We're going to continue here. My voice is not going to be denied. Something has to be done. And I have an obligation to this country and to God to try to put an end to this crime that has taken over this country. Kristen Cashy says, love Glenn Beck. I do too. I met him quite a few years ago when he did Man in the Moon. Several years ago when I lived in Salt Lake City. I love Glenn Beck. He's a friend. He's a partner. He's got a bigger bully pulpit than I do. But please, guys, also try to help NCWQ with her efforts with her car. And also Aveyah, if you can. Those people in Ohio, stop by her yard sale. These people deserve more. Okay? Rebecca, NCWQ. She's been a dear friend. She's helped me with this podcast. She's helped give me information about all kinds of things, including earthquakes. Okay? She's also told me that I can use parts of her podcast on this program, which I've done on occasion. I support her 100%. If you don't know who she is, go over to her YouTube channel and give her some love. Go to her YouTube channel and give her some love. Aveyah used to have several YouTube channels, and guess what? YouTube finally took her down completely. Now she's on Rumble. Michael McKinney says we must fight the good fight, and I agree. We have to fight. We have to stand up for our rights. We keep talking about that every week, many times of the week. We have to stand up and be counted. Let's go over and talk about some earthquakes. Now, folks, I'm not going to deny that I probably don't spend enough time on earthquakes and disasters. I'm trying. I'm trying my best to give you more and more information as we go through each day and each week. Now, one of the things I want to tell you about, this earthquake right here, this happened yesterday. We talked about this yesterday. It came out as a 5.8 over in Bengkulu, Indonesia. Well, guess what? They have since today dropped it down to a 5.5 magnitude earthquake. A 5.5 magnitude earthquake. We talked about this yesterday. Okay? This has probably had less impact on Java, Indonesia, because this earthquake occurred out at sea yesterday evening. The seawater itself, the water in the ocean, dissipates seismic waves. So by the time those seismic waves hit a landmass, that landmass is not shaken as bad as it could have been if that earthquake had hit on land. Another earthquake down here in Indonesia right here. This is in Lombok region, Indonesia. Folks, this hit also in the water right next to that island. Okay, Lombok in some places is inhabited. It's just barely offshore. This was also a 4.4 moderate quake. So part of the seismic waves did not affect the people on that island. They did feel something because it was very close to the landmass. This was a 4.4 earthquake, moderate earthquake, 4.8 miles deep. 4.8 miles deep. This other one over just north of Java here, this was 359 miles deep. Very deep earthquake. What have we learned by earthquakes, guys? Deep earthquakes don't have much effect on land unless they're accompanied by other extenuating circumstances, meaning large, more shallower quakes. The deep, large earthquakes don't have that much bite because they're deep earthquakes. If you have a large, shallow quake, that takes a huge bite. Okay? But this was a 5.5 quake. 5.5 to 5.9 are considered to be large earthquakes. This, folks, was 359 miles deep. That's a very deep earthquake. This earthquake, if you put everything together, is going to propagate a 6.5 to 6.8 magnitude earthquake as a result of this earthquake and its depth. We're going to see a very strong 6.5 to 6.8 earthquake hit. It's probably going to hit somewhere here in Indonesia, since that is where this earthquake is. The seismic energy is going to bounce around this entire Indonesian area. Now, what else is here? There are 7 other plates. There are 7 other tectonic plates in this region. One plate is subducting under another and another and another. That's why these earthquakes hit. Now, USGS is not even giving us the truth here. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. They're not showing all the earthquakes that have been hit. They're not showing them. USGS is a preeminent seismic agency. It's supposed to be the best in the world. And yet they don't give us all the information. On their map, on the USGS map, of which part of it we're showing you right now, they're saying we have had 206 earthquakes hit us nationwide, or not nationwide, but worldwide. 206 earthquakes hitting us worldwide. That's an out-and-out blatant lie. They may only show part of those 206 earthquakes. They're not even showing all of them yet here. Not in the least. Not in the least. Okay? How about this earthquake just off the coast of Sumatra? This is a moderate 4.6, 21.5 miles deep. I doubt if people in Sumatra even felt it. It was off the coast of Sumatra. Off the coast of Sumatra. Out by the islands of Sumatra here. Most of these islands are not occupied at all. At all. If there's any occupations, it might be up in this region here. I don't see anything. I also don't see literally much of anything up here because I've searched. This is just a tiny island here. There might be something down here. Let's take a quick look. I looked last night. Don't remember quite honestly if there's anybody down here again. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, there's somebody down here. But folks, that's a moderate earthquake up there, further north. These people probably won't even feel it. One, it's out in the water, which is going to take the seismic waves off of that. If anybody up north feels that quake, it's only going to be like a tickle underneath their feet. That's all it might be. Period. Nothing. Let's take a look up here. Nope, I didn't think so. There might be some people living in this stretch of land here. It's out in the forest. I don't know. I just don't think so. But it was just a 4.6 moderate quake. On land, you'd see dishes and plates banging together, glasses banging together, possibly a photo or something on the wall fall off, knickknacks fall off of shelves. Moderate earthquake. No disaster, just some movement. Okay? How about this one? I want to go over here to central Indonesia. Let's look at this. This was a 5.6 in the Molucca Sea. A 5.6 in the Molucca Sea at 7:48 this morning Eastern Time. It's in the ocean. I can promise you, nobody felt this quake either. It's out in the ocean here. Just a short while ago, within the last 40 minutes, we've had a 4.5 here. This is also in the Molucca Sea, 64 miles southeast of Valdese, Indonesia. Nobody felt either of those quakes. This 5.6 is 153 miles deep. Nobody's going to feel that one either. Over here in the Taiwan region, let's take a look at this. Off the southeast coast of Taiwan this morning, 3 earthquakes. Oh, let me back up. Let's go to this one. USGS downgraded this from a 5.2 to a 4.9. Okay? 4:08 this morning. This one was just after that, a 4.8, downgraded from a 5.0. This one here is a moderate 4.4, downgraded from a 4.9. This happened at 4:08. This 5.0 here happened at 8:02. Okay? Aftershock. This other 4.8 downgraded from a 5.0 happened at 8:25. Okay? Right here. There's 1. There's 2. Okay? This is a bigger quake than the other one. Then we had this 4.8 after that. Okay? Again, this is out in the ocean. Nobody felt these quakes. It's in the southeast Taiwan region. In the region. Now down here in Southeast Asia, in the southwestern Pacific, there's been tidal raises and lowers. Tides have raised and lowered. In some cases, we have a buoy that registered a 7,000 foot displacement. In other words, the water level near that buoy allegedly dropped 7,000 feet. Unreal. 7,000 feet. What happened? Nobody knows. Nobody knows and nobody's talking about it. Okay? Now they finally took an earthquake down over here. Yesterday we had a 5 over here in the Easter Island region here. Here in the southeastern Pacific, off the coast of Chile. Quite a distance off the coast of Chile. It didn't affect anybody. It wasn't close enough to Easter Island to affect anybody. The ocean water absorbed that earthquake as well. Craziness happens, doesn't it? Oh yeah. It happens big time. I swear, guys, it's insane. It's literally insane. NCWQ just left us here. Got to put our grandbaby to bed. Much love, all Ron and Ron. Thank you, Rebecca. We appreciate and love you very much. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for being part of our program. Guys, it's unreal. It's literally insane. Okay? Over here in Africa, this is another 5.0 here in southern Africa, near it's actually south of Tanzania. This was also a large earthquake. When you see 4.9s, anytime you see anything 0.9, it's always a large earthquake because USGS downgrades everything to a 0.9. Heaven forbid we have too many 5s. Yes, they do that because heaven forbid that history says we had a large number of 5.0 and above earthquakes. That's what everybody's going to see. Oh, guys. Man, the Earth has had a bunch of 0.9s, 4.9s, 3.9s. Heaven forbid they tell the truth, exactly what is going on. Heaven forbid. Over here, guys, I want to talk about this. This is also important. This is Afghanistan. Okay? That's where we just had troops just within the last 6 months withdraw from. This is a moderate 4.1, 150 miles deep. It's down in the asthenosphere. The crust that we walk on is anywhere from 39 to 65 miles deep. Not very far. In some cases, when the weather's perfect, the atmosphere is perfect, you might be able to see 65 miles away if you're high enough. You can probably see 39 miles away from you if the conditions are right. Can you imagine being able to see the bottom of the ground that we walk on? Down below it is plastic magma, moving magma. It's called the asthenosphere. That earthquake down in Indonesia was 359 miles deep. Down in the asthenosphere. The magma caused that. Okay? Here in Afghanistan, 150 miles deep. It's a 4.1 moderate quake. Some people might have felt that. It's a moderate quake. Anything probably above 3.5, people are definitely going to feel it, depending on where they're at. This one here is just west of that. This is a 4.4. Still a moderate quake, higher than the 4.0. Folks, this is 23.6 miles deep. It's in the crust of the earth where we walk. It's an earthquake. Okay? Now, what are they not showing us here? I keep coming back to this almost every day. Almost every day. Over here in Iran and Iraq, we've had some 4.3, 4.4, 4.5 earthquakes around the Caspian Sea here. Over here in Turkey and Syria area, USGS says, well, we haven't had any quakes. Really? Day after day after day, there are at least 50 plus earthquakes. I've gone in and counted them sometimes, and that's what happened this morning. I counted them. There were 79 earthquakes up here. 79 earthquakes that have happened here in Turkey, Syria region today. That's just today. This happens every day. Why? Just a few months ago, we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake hit here. USGS tried to feed us the baloney that was, oh, it's only a 7.4 major quake. Only a 7.4 major quake. Buildings falling to pieces, scaffolding falling down, great big huge bricks and blocks falling over, killing people. Yes, killing. Hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people killed, thousands more injured in Turkey and Syria. And yet, this agency, the United States agency, doesn't give a lick. They don't ever show it here. They might show us yesterday we had a 4.5 here. Well, guess what? There were 75 others. There's 75 others. Why are they not being honest about it? Again, I'll talk to you about that. Earthquakes all over Turkey here. Earthquakes off the western shore of Turkey, in the Volcanoes Islands here that belong to Greece. Earthquakes down here in Crete, Greece. Yeah. Over here in the mainland Greece here. Guess what? They're showing one earthquake. A 4.1 earthquake near the near the western coast of Greece. 4.1 moderate earthquake at 6.1 kilometers deep. I'm not kilometers, 6.1 miles deep. Okay? It was on land. This time people probably felt a lot of shaking. Nothing serious, but they still felt a lot of shaking. Like I said, things on the walls drop off the walls. Books and knickknacks fall off the shelves. Plates and glasses and everything rumbling, yes. If they were anywhere near the edge, they fell. Small destruction. Nobody usually gets injured in a moderate quake unless they lied about it and called it a moderate quake and it was really a large quake. They've done that. There's a lot more earthquakes than they're showing here, guys. There's 25 plus earthquakes over here in Greece. 25 plus earthquakes right here in Greece. Over here near Crete and the Volcanoes Islands, there's a ton of them. A ton of them. What else has happened? Slovenia, Romania. Slovenia and Romania have gotten hit. Italy and Sicily have gotten hit. There's probably 50 earthquakes between the south part over here by Sicily and all the way up north to the Italian Alps. About 50 earthquakes. Most of them centered right in here in the Marsh, Italy area. A lot of them. And in this area, they're usually 1.0, 1.2, 1.5, 1.7 and such. But these minor earthquakes are going to cause larger, shallower earthquakes. Yeah, folks, that's what's going to happen. We've seen it happen before. This area got hit with a 5.0 just about 6 months ago. It's going to happen again. Over here in the Italian, German, and Swiss Alps here, there's about 10 earthquakes here. USGS not showing one of them. Did you know today in France they had 1.2 to 4.6 earthquakes here in France? 14 earthquakes here in France. 14 earthquakes here in France, and not one of them was talked about. Not one of them. One of them was out here in the English Channel between France and England. Not talking about them. Spain had a bunch of earthquakes here. Here in the Strait of Gibraltar, there are a bunch of earthquakes here. Over here in the Azores, next to Spain, more earthquakes. More earthquakes. Let's go up by Iceland. I can't wait to show you this, guys. This is incredible. Right up here. Remember where we had those two volcanoes that erupted right over here? There's 10 plus, I think it's 12 earthquakes right here in this area. 12 of them. Over here, and I kid you not, guys, right over here in this area right here that I'm showing you right now, there's 14 earthquakes here. Yes, there's mostly ones and twos here. 1 tremors, 2.0 to 2.3, still minor earthquakes here. Why? Notice that red earthquake fault? That's the Mid-Atlantic Fault, the North Mid-Atlantic Fault. As we've been telling you, the Mid-Atlantic Fault is spreading like this. It's getting larger. It's spreading out like this. It's putting pressure on Africa. It's putting pressure on the Eastern Continental Divide. North America, Canada, and the United States, putting pressure on the Eastern Continental Divide, and we have earthquakes there. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay? Let's go up further north. Okay? Right up here, Svalbard region. Svalbard. Let me double check. I just want to get this right. I've been watching this literally all day. It's literally insane, guys. Just north of Iceland. It's called the Jan Mayen region. This is a 2.5 earthquake. A 2.5 earthquake in the Jan Mayen region. Okay? Then we go further north. There happens to be 2 earthquakes here. This is in the Dupage region. A 2.0. Guys, you gotta see this. Just further north. Right up here. There's a 2.2 minor earthquake and a 4.0. in the Greenland Sea. A 4.0 moderate earthquake up here near the North Pole. Okay? Again, the Atlantic plate is expanding. The Atlantic plate is expanding. Now, let's bring it closer to home. Let's bring it closer to home. Okay? Right up here. Right up here. What is this? We have more Azores Islands up here. Right in this area. Right alongside the fault. Well, guess what, guys? There's 4 earthquakes. Let's go back here to the center of the Mid-Atlantic Fault right here. There's some earthquakes here. Again, they're not going to show us. There's a 2.1, a 2.3, and a 2.0. A 2.1, a 2.3, and this south one is a 2.0. Right there. Why are they not showing it? I'll explain that in a minute. Okay? Inquiring minds want to know. Yesterday we had 2 earthquakes here in eastern Canada. They showed one and they took down the other. The other was right up here in the center of the screen, center of the slide here. There was one down here in Quebec province, a 2.7 I believe it was. So they took down one and showed us another. Today, over here in Kentucky, notice where this earthquake is. Can you say New Madrid Fault area? You can see it. My gosh, you can see this. This is Lancaster, Kentucky, a 2.63 earthquake. A 2.63 minor earthquake. Lancaster, Kentucky. Well, folks, I've done some homework for you. I want to show you what happened today, because I know the agency will never do that. Let me show you something else. Yeah, I've done my homework. I'm going to show you Hickman, Kentucky, right here. Hickman, Kentucky, all we have here are tremors. All we have here are tremors except for one place. Okay? That one place is just after 3, I want to say 3:11 a.m. this morning, a 2.0 earthquake. All the rest of these are all tremors in Hickman, Kentucky. Every last one of them. Every last one of them. Tremors. Hickman, Kentucky. Here's Paducah, Kentucky, and this is the only one. Look at the time they shut up the dadgum seismograph. Look at all those hours that they shut down the seismograph. 9 hours. 9 hours. And then they showed us the last 3 hours of this morning in Paducah, Kentucky. That's it. Some tiny tremors in Paducah, Kentucky. This is one of the most responsible agencies in the world. Look what they showed us today. This afternoon in Paducah, Kentucky. 2.5 hours of seismic movement. Tremors. Tremors, folks. Now, how about Watson, Kentucky? Watson Lake, Kentucky. Look at this. This is this afternoon. This morning's seismogram doesn't exist. This morning's seismogram doesn't exist because they had the computer shut down. The seismograph was shut down. They're only showing tremors here. Watson Lake, Kentucky. How about that? They're not showing any movement in Kentucky whatsoever. But they came away and told us we have a 2 over there in Kentucky. Isn't that fine? They show us a bunch of tremors. All we have is evidence of tremors, and they try to tell us that there's a 2 something over there in Kentucky. Yes, in Kentucky. On the New Madrid Fault. Let me show you something else here that I discovered today over in DeRidder, Louisiana. You might want to see this, guys. Let me back this thing up a little bit. The top of this seismogram should start at midnight last night. What happened with the rest of today's seismogram? They turned it off. They turned this seismograph off as well. DeRidder, Louisiana, guys. Usually we have showed a lot of seismic events here in DeRidder, Louisiana. Most of those seismic events, nothing but tremors, just like we have here. Let me show you this. Okay? They turned the seismograph back on just after 8:30. The seismograph started recording data at 9:45. 9:45 to 12 noon. Look at that. Nothing but tremors. What happened to the rest of the daggum seismogram? Where is it? It doesn't exist. How are we to know that we've had some earthquakes or not? Unless you felt them. Unless you felt them. DeRidder, Louisiana. This is a southern part of the New Madrid Fault. Today, guess what? They left the seismograph on for another 2.5 hours. So folks, all we got out of them today is 5 hours worth of data. 5 hours worth of data. Fortunately, there was nothing major that happened. We've had nothing but tremors today down in DeRidder, Louisiana. Why did they shut off the seismograph? I want to know. I want to know. Yesterday we talked a great deal. We talked a great deal about earthquakes in and around the New Madrid area, north to south, east to west. We took it all the way to the East Coast. I showed you some earthquakes and tremors on the East Coast. Savannah, Georgia, way down south, earthquakes, big ones. I showed you a ton of tremors, 1.5 to 1.7 tremors ongoing in Sumter, South Carolina. Sorry guys, I gotta have a glass of water here. So we get my bottle. Yeah, I'm not gonna get drunk. I'm drinking water. Yeah guys, I showed you earthquakes and tremors happening in Sumter, South Carolina. Elgin, Logoff, and Sumter, South Carolina. Earthquakes and tremors. USGS showed one. One lousy tremor. And yet I showed you all that energy there. All day long. 24, actually it wasn't 24. It was all day from midnight to noon, and then noon to 4:30. I showed you 16 hours of seismic activity. USGS shows us 1 tremor. Isn't it interesting that we do not know what's going on? Even when we have earthquakes that are felt, we get lied to. Last year, and I'll keep pointing this out till my head turns blue. Last year, right here in Morganton, USGS said we had a 2.5 earthquake. Really? A 2.5 minor earthquake. Guess what? Houses and apartments shook. Standing cars on roadways shook. I live here. I lived here. I did not feel it, but other people did. Where I live, we didn't feel it. I was nowhere near the epicenter on the other side of Morganton. It was a much larger earthquake. It was a much larger earthquake, and I believe it's probably a 4.5. For cars to shake, parked cars to shake, for things to fall off walls, people had broken dishes. It was a larger earthquake. Here where I live, and USGS denied what happened. They completely denied what happened. Oh, it could not have been. It was reported on the news. It was reported on the news. And I called the station and told them who I was. And I said, I have seismograms to prove that it was much larger quake. No, I didn't feel it, but I had seismograms to prove that it was much larger earthquake. Right behind me, about 5 miles away, is a pretty good sized mountain. It's called Grandfather Mountain, and there just happens to be a seismic station on Grandfather Mountain. Yes, I had the seismic information from Grandfather Mountain. Yes, it did happen, but it was a stronger earthquake than they said it was. Okay? Let me read you the statement that I found today on USGS. Let me read you the statement. This comes right off the USGS website. Right off the cotton picking USGS website. And by the way, we have 97 thumbs up. I appreciate that. I'm sure there's a lot more people here than that. And before you leave tonight, please hit the like button. A bunch. Okay? Let's make that likes go crazy. I want to also thank Rob52 for being here. He injured himself. He fell yesterday, injuring his upper arm and shoulder and the front part of his chest. Rob is a great man. I love and appreciate him. I appreciate him being here. Dawn and Diane and all the others here. Demon Cat, one of my best friends now. Wonderful man, Demon Cat. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. You guys are awesome. You really are. Now, also I want to thank Vicky. If Vicky's watching or listening, I want to thank her too. Vicky is one of my associates over on our Facebook Messenger groups. We have several disaster groups, earthquakes and volcanoes. We have a public chat, public disaster chat. We have my friend Dawn Patoka's Donnie's Den there. A lot of people there as well. We have a political chat, and we have a weather chat. Vicky was over there as I was coming on the air, telling everybody in our chat that we were going on the air, which I greatly appreciate. Thank you, Vicky. God bless you. She does a great job. All of our people. Scooter Pie is there. Most of you know who Scooter Pie is. A wonderful lady that's helped keep this channel going. Love and appreciate her too. Anyway, let me tell you what USGS says as to false reporting. The maps and lists show events which have been located by the USGS and contributing agencies within the last 30 days. What I'm showing you on the map is 0.0 magnitude up to 10.0 magnitude. That's what I have on the map that I'm showing you now. 0.0 to 10.0 magnitude in one day. All of the earthquakes within 24 hours. Okay? So they say they show earthquakes within the last 30 days on the map. Yes, you can program your map to show how many days you want it to show, and that's all fine and good. They go on and say they should not be considered to be complete lists of all events in the U.S. and adjacent areas, especially should not be considered to be complete lists. They should not be considered to be complete lists of all events 4.5 magnitude plus in the world. In other words, they're not going to report large, very strong, or major earthquakes. They're not going to report every earthquake that hits. That's what they're saying. In most cases, we locate and report on earthquakes worldwide of a magnitude 5.0. Really? 5.0 and larger in 30 minutes or less. Really? How come yesterday they were missing a 5.0 earthquake that happened earlier in the day? They didn't report on it. I showed it to you on my other device. Additionally, we locate and report on earthquakes magnitude 4.0 and larger within the contiguous United States and populated areas of Alaska within 30 minutes. Really? How come there are days over in Alaska where they're only showing 15 or 20 earthquakes when there should have been 65 or 70? Earthquakes in magnitudes 2.0 and greater with the United States and populated areas of Alaska are often rapidly reported if they occur within the region of a contributing local seismic network. If they're reported by a contributing local seismic network. Really? Michael McKinney says, really too. Vicky K says, you're welcome, my honor. Vicky, I appreciate you saying my honor, but you're a wonderful lady. You really are. Thank you for that. She says it's her honor. Wonderful lady. Michael McKinney says, I used to have an aunt in Anchorage. I had an aunt and uncle in Anchorage. My mother's brother and his wife. I've been there. I took a scout troop a long time ago up to Mount McKinley. That's before they started not letting scout troops go there. My troop was an adventurous scout troop, not a post, but it was a scout troop. It wasn't explorers, it was scouts. Yes, scouts are explorers, but mine were not of that age. Mine were 16 years old and less. and with their parents' permission, with the Scout Council permission, and their church permission, I took them up there with 3 other Scout leaders and myself, and aides, guides were there as well. My uncle, I'm going to name him. He had his own plane. His name was Mel Rogers. Mel also owned several restaurants in Anchorage before he passed away years ago. A great man, he and Olga, his wife. He took a plane down to San Diego, brought our scouts and all of our equipment up there, and he put us on the Denali train. And then brought us home. My Uncle Mel, a great man. A great man. But they only report on information if an agency provides it. We may not rapidly locate earthquakes smaller than 5.0 outside the U.S. unless they've caused significant damage and are widely felt. Unless they cause considerable damage or are widely felt. Earthquakes this small rarely cause significant damage. At times, some other agency may report an earthquake with a larger magnitude than we compute with our data. So if USGS data does not compute with other data, they won't report it, especially for non-US events near magnitude 5.0. Near magnitude 5.0. Okay? So this tells us, in their own words, that they may not report an earthquake up to a 5.0 large earthquake. If our magnitude for the event is less than magnitude 5.0, we may not issue a rapid report for it. Earthquakes occurring outside the United States and smaller than about 4.5 magnitude can be difficult for the USGS to locate it, if there's not enough data. The USGS continues to receive data from other observatories throughout the world for several months after the events occur. Using those data, we add new events and revise existing events in later publications. We have seen events before my dear friend Larry passed away. We have seen events being put on the present day map from 3 or 4 days earlier. One case, it was 3 weeks earlier. All of a sudden it showed up on the map. Within 3 or 4 hours it was taken back down. Okay? Larry called me. I got a wake-up call early in the morning when he was monitoring those data from 3 or 4 days earlier, even a week earlier. USGS goes on, for a description of these later publications and the data available, click on data. You go over the USGS page, over to the seismologist study page, and you click on data. And hopefully it may give you information. Hopefully. I clicked on it today, nothing. Nothing. They go on to say, there are many regional networks around the world that can record smaller earthquakes in their region than the NEIC global network can. And in many cases, these regional networks do not share data with the NEIC. I call bullcrap, because they do share data. The EMSC shares data. The EMSC, GeoNet, from down in New Zealand and Australia, yes, they do share it. Yet why does USGS continually not report on events in the South Pacific? Why are they not giving us data from GeoNet? in Indonesia. The Indonesian agency reports it as well. How do I know? Because I've been monitoring it for a very long time. USGS goes on to say, so if you think there is missing earthquake on our maps and lists, please see the national and regional links for the area of interest on these web pages. So they're telling you, if you want to see all the data, you've got to go look someplace else. Really? We got to look someplace else. The USGS is a preeminent seismic agency in the world. They admit that they don't report all earthquakes. That's why you show me, or you see me showing you maps and information from literally all around the world. And I will continue to do that. On this program, we've continued to talk about shootings. We've done that a lot. We've talked about explosions at oil refineries in Texas and Mississippi, Louisiana. I think we even reported on one in Alabama. We reported about an oil rig, the Horizon oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico, when that was on fire. The new Horizon oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico was on fire. We reported about hurricanes, very strong, very destructive hurricanes around the world, and even cyclones around the world. We reported on tornadoes, rain events, flooding events, fires all over the world. We'll continue doing that. We live right now in pretty much a world filled with trouble and turmoil, where people do not even know where to turn. Why do you think I'm reporting on emergencies here in the United States with so many millions of people here in the United States constantly, either under fire, being killed, being deprived of their constitutional rights, having their free speech around the world be taken away? A pastor in Canada being arrested for preaching the word of God at the pulpit in his church in Canada. Arrested. The other day we talked about a 17, 18-year-old kid who was preaching the word of God on a sidewalk. Yes, up the road a piece there was an LGBTQ event being held, but this kid was on a sidewalk down the street from that event, preaching the word of God, reading scriptures from the Bible. Arrested on a sidewalk, manhandled. The cops manhandled him. I reported on it. There's a reason for it, guys. But there's never a reason for mishandling an incident. I saw what happened there. No, they did not kick him. They did not strike him with batons. They didn't pepper spray him. But they used overwhelming force against him. They took his scriptures away from him. They took his microphone away from him. And they physically took him into custody, forcing him. Yes, at first he resisted arrest, but he had done nothing wrong. He was exercising his freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and that was a violation. That's why I speak about all the things that I talked about tonight. A former president of the United States having his freedom of speech hampered, taking his rights away, persecuting him, prosecuting him illegally, unlawfully. He's a private citizen now. They're treating him as scum because he's running against a turkey that's in office, that should be jailed along with his son. And yet we're not allowed to have that happen. We can have a tyrant in office like we have, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, and nothing's going to be done. But they're going to go after his chief rival that's got at least 50% of the vote or more. The polls are done. He's got 60% of the vote against Biden. Most Democrats don't even want Biden to run. But Biden says he's going to do everything in his power to stop President Trump from running and occupying the White House again. I read you his words, and I should have saved the video clip I found yesterday. That's why I copied this information to read to you today. I read you his words, that he will do whatever he can in his power, he says constitutionally, to prohibit President Trump from running. When asked at a post-midterms press conference last year, November 9th, he said, quote, "He will make sure Trump doesn't take power. We just have to demonstrate that he will not take power if he does run, making sure, under legitimate efforts of our Constitution, he does not become the next president again." Biden's exact words. Jack Smith, the chief prosecutor under Merrick Garland, has already lied about some of the charges. Well, all of the charges. I'm going to say all of them. He's manipulated the juries, the grand juries, to come out with indictments against the former president, violating that president's rights. He's a civilian now. He's a former president. Guess what? It's abuse of power. Just one more charge against Joseph Biden. Okay? Enough said. I've said what I said and I stand by it. Something has to be done to keep our freedom of speech alive. Write your congressmen, write your senators, and tell them to impeach the president. Call that 202 number that we gave you earlier. Ask for your own senators and congressmen in your states. The White House operator will give you their numbers and will even put their call through. Be courteous. Do not threaten them. But whether you talk to the congressman or senator himself or one of his aides, you tell them that if those people, if your representatives do not impeach the president, that they will not be reelected next year. Tell them, yes, that's a sitting threat, but at least you're not threatening them with bodily harm. Don't do that. Just tell them they'll be out of work come 2024. And that's a promise. Unless we can take back our country, folks, we're screwed. The same thing with Canada. And I hope to have Barry Prince here on the air to talk about that. And even my friend Dave Delisle. I haven't seen him on the chat lately. Okay? But make sure you call the White House switchboard and tell them to go after and impeach Joseph Biden and his running mate, Kamala Harris, or we're screwed. Okay? Biden threatened our former president. Biden, the sitting president of the United States. This has never ever been done in history. A sitting president threatening the former president. That's treason. That's sedition. High crimes and misdemeanors. And Julia Healy says, oh yeah, and they want to chip you over their dead bodies. They try to force chip me, guess what? They're using force against me. And I can use equal force to resist it. Go ahead. Make my day. I may not use my nug, but I'll use whatever force that is equal and necessary to stop the assault. That's the key. That force which is reasonable and necessary to stop the attack. That's the way it is. Okay? I'm sorry if I've been so strong-minded here. But I believe in our freedoms. Our freedom of speech, our freedom of Second Amendment. I also believe in freedom of religion. I believe in the constitutional law of this country. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a conservative. Okay? Anyway, a couple of scriptures here. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 10. We are fools for Christ's sake, but we are wise in Christ. We are weak, but ye are strong. You're honorable, but we are despised. In verse 14, I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you. That's what Paul is talking to the Corinthians. He's talking to us too. I write not these things to shame you, but as my beloved sons, I warn you. Folks, I'm putting the warning out right now. If we don't stand up for honor and integrity, if we do not stand up for our rights, we are screwed. Okay? I care about you. I care about every person that sees this program. Yes, I have a bully pulpit right now. That may have to change to Rumble or Brighteon or something, but I'll continue it. You can take that to the bank. If you run into any people that were on our other channel, please tell them that we are here and ask them nicely if they will just come and join this channel again. I want to build this channel back up to 25,000 people that we had just 6 months ago. 6 months ago, we had 25,000 people. Now we have just over 1,500, which I'm grateful for. Don't get me wrong. But we need to get the voice of preparation out. Emergency preparedness. Folks, I have a complete program about emergency preparedness I was going to talk about. I think I may come on the air tomorrow. I've got to make a run up to a place 16 miles away up in Hickory tomorrow. But after I come back, if I have time, I will come back and we'll talk about emergency preparedness because I did not get there tonight. But I have a full program to talk about pet preparedness. And I want to share that with you. It's important. Folks, I love you. I care about you. Mark Stolde says Mike Adams should interview you. I believe that too. I wish he would. Somebody, a bunch of people ought to tell Mike Adams, have me on his air. I'd love to go on the air with Mike Adams. Have him on my air. I told him that. And I'll tell him again. Yeah. Folks, we are in the position right now where we are about to lose our countries. All of us, all over the world. We're about to lose our freedoms. Okay? Our freedoms that every one of us have fought to live. England and Sweden and Norway and Denmark. And by the way, Norway and Denmark again and Sweden had earthquakes hit there today. 1s and 2s, but had seismic energy hit in those countries. One out in the Baltic Sea by Stockholm, near Åland Island. Åland Island. All over, guys. We had earthquakes literally all over. And USGS shows none of them. Look at those earthquakes that were up north in the Greenland Sea. In the North Atlantic. Didn't even show any of them. This is a great agency, guys. Julia Healy says, where should I move? Tired of California. Anywhere but California. Texas. Arizona. Rob 52 is in Arizona. We have another man in Arizona as well who's one of our mods that we don't see very much anymore because he's doing so much work to prepare his family. He goes by the name of Tom in real life. Okay? He's a great guy. His nickname on this chat was Negotiator. A really great guy if you ever see him. Guys, I hope you have a good night and a better tomorrow. If anything else happens tonight, we will be back on the air to tell you about it before the hawk crows. Or the rooster crows at midnight. We'll be back to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. We always do. Like I said, I'm going to try to make it back on the air for a little while and talk about pet preparedness tomorrow night. Well, actually, during the day. If I can get away sometime during the day for a little while, I'm going to do that. If it's early in the morning, I will post it on here on YouTube. You can join me if you want. I'll post it here on YouTube, and you guys can go back and see it during the day tomorrow. But I feel an obligation to also protect our four-legged friends or two-legged friends that can't protect themselves. God bless you guys. God bless you. I love you very much. May God be with you until we meet again. We will see you around the corner. Good night, everybody.